Today I got a chance to sit down and talk to Randy Page of Cricket and Fig, one of the best chocolatiers I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. His desserts, his chocolates are out of this world, and if you are ever in Tulsa, please go to Cricket and Fig. Without much further ado, here's Randy Page.
We have had like record rainfall. But then I saw, I guess they're having flooding. They had flooding in Chicago. They're having flooding in New Jersey. Big year for rain.
Big year for rain. Hey, better. I'd take that over the fires pretty much most days. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I guess to jump in,
Absolutely.
I wanted to start, Randy, if we could. I wanted to ask. I know I've heard a little bit of your past just from me and my wife visiting your shop, but can you tell us a little bit about how you got into being a master chocolatier?
How candid should I be?
Tell
How
it all. I
candid
mean,
do you want
hey,
this to be?
there's a
What's it
PG.
rated?
No, it's open book, so go for it.
You know, so my background, I grew up. My mother was a fantastic cook. She heavy on desserts, but I mean just everything across the board. I grew up on scratch cooking. The first time I ever had McDonald's, which I had for dinner last night, by the way. The first time I ever had McDonald's, I drove myself to the McDonald's. It wasn't fast food just wasn't a huge part of my family growing up. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, so I'm kind of southern. I you know, not the deep south, but and my mom was just a great cook and she was a great baker, and I grew up on scratch food and home cooked meals. And at a very early age, I was attracted to learning how to produce some of that stuff myself. And I remember one day, probably 8, 9, 10 years old, I grabbed a bowl and took all the stuff that I'd seen my mother um, putting into cakes, and I just threw all that stuff in a bowl and stirred it up and baked it, and the result was just absolutely horrifying. It was just
World's
terrible.
worst cake.
So
Yes.
yeah, no good. So I really learned. Um, I learned respect for recipes, and I learned about structure and discipline in cooking from that. And yeah, from then my mom brought me a book on French cooking, and I started cooking. And years later, uh, as I don't think my first job was in fast food, like a little family-owned burger place. Um, I was yeah. So I don't think I really cared for fast food that much, but I was a teenager. I didn't really recognize that I was going to have to really, it hadn't sunk in that I was going to have to work for a living when I grew up.
At
So
some
as
point,
I got
yes.
older, in my older teens, I just didn't have any idea. I knew I didn't want to do fast food. That wasn't fun. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just never lost that love for food. And I was going through um, some of my rebellion in my late teens, and uh, things were not my life was not going well, and I wasn't really contributing anything. And I had a friend that was going to culinary school, and he worked at a restaurant. And he said, you should try this again, Randy. You love food, and I mean, this is we're going to learn how to make real food and something. I don't know. I liked Paul. It seemed like something to try. So I did go to culinary school at a little community college, Central Piedmont Community College in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they actually were going through a transition to doing it. It was more like just kind of a local, uh, kind of a housewife homemaker type program that they were launching a new professional program that ended up being an associate's degree program. So they brought in some talent and some really some really qualified professional chefs that were teaching classes, and I didn't go through a whole program, but I went through a lot of it, and I heavy on baking, and I learned the basics of working with chocolate back then. Um, and then as I got a little proficient with some skills, I got a I got a job in a hotel, and then started moving my way up to better restaurants, and ended up going to culinary school at CIA in New York, Culinary Institute of America, in Hyde Park, New York, and um, after that, I lived all over the country. I've lived and worked in 11 states, coast to coast, and just done a lot of different stuff. I did fine dining. I've done a lot of catering. I've taught at a couple of different culinary schools. Um, and in the last 10 years, I started playing around with chocolate. Um, I learned the basics of working with chocolate. I had been really impressed and with some chocolates that I'd had when I was younger, when I was a kid, that made a huge impression on me. And I always thought someday I'd like to learn how to make these myself. And I had the time in the last few years, and I bought some equipment and started teaching myself, and grew that into what is now a chocolate shop. So,
Yeah, a great chocolate
Cricket
shop
and
too.
Fig Chocolate.
Yeah. Now, for the listener, and I'm kind of counting myself in this, I've never made a chocolate in my life. What are the subtleties of making chocolate? Like, how do your chocolates differ from store-bought chocolates? I'm saying that because I've had your chocolates and they're worlds better. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you achieve that big of a difference? And is it just something you iterate on, or I know that's like 15 questions wrapped in one, but
No, it's not really. It's not just that's a pretty simple question. I think, Andrew. I think chocolate is just, it's like anything else. You get out what you put in, and I think the real secret is just great ingredients.
hmm.
And um, so I've had, everybody's had Russell Stover chocolates, or C's. C's, I think, are a little step up from Russell Stovers. The
Shout out
chocolates that made a
Nebraska,
huge
yes.
impression on, yeah, I think the chocolates that made such a great impression on me as a kid were actually Godiva. Because when I was a teenager, when I was in high school, I had some Godiva chocolates. I don't know, at least where I lived, and probably not the case in New York or Chicago, or some much more cosmopolitan markets in that day. Um, but we didn't have a lot of great boutique chocolate stores. Um, but we had Godiva, and there was just something different about Godiva. They were, today I look at them, and they're a commercially made, very large, big box chocolate company, just like so many others. But they are a cut above, and their chocolate just tastes different. If we're, as Americans, if we're used to Hershey's and M&M Mars and kind of chocolate that's made for our American palate, um, Godiva it's different. It's decidedly European chocolate. It's Belgian, and it's just different. They had textures in their fillings that were just different. They were creamy. Some of them were fruit flavored, and just kind of dripped out of the chocolate shell, instead of just this firm filling that you could stand on. They were more delicate. They were more elegant, and those textures, um, and different flavors were things that kind of stuck with me, that I wanted to try to duplicate. So, fast forward to 10 or 15 years ago, is being a chef, working in fine dining, following fine dining and pastry. I'm very familiar with what the best products in the industry are. My favorite chocolate, and there's lots of other great chocolates. I mean, and there's plenty of little boutique chocolate companies all over the world. But there is one brand that stands above all the rest. It's probably won more international competitions than any other major chocolate company, and that is a French company called Valrhona.
Hmm.
That is the chocolate that most French and high-end European chocolatiers and pastry chefs use. It's just well known. It's just a bulletproof, very big, well-established European brand. And that's the chocolate that I started buying to play with and to serve in the restaurants I was working in. I started making chocolates. All the things that I was learning were I was making them as gifts for friends and family, and I wanted to give my friends and family the very best possible product I could give them. So I bought some chocolates from a chocolate shop in Paris. I bought that I ordered them. Ordered them and had them shipped here. I've bought chocolates from chocolate shops all over the country. I've Googled, and it's easy to find this stuff today. 30, 40 years ago when I started in
Not
this
so
business,
much.
it was a
Yeah.
different world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff was there, and none of these are, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30-year-old companies. They're all old, well-established companies, but today, anybody can find them. 40 years ago, maybe not. You had to look a little harder. You had to really be exposed to stuff that I wasn't necessarily exposed to in Charlotte, North Carolina in the 80s and early 90s. So, we live in a time that is really cool, and we can try a lot of different stuff, and we can get products that we didn't used to be able to get so easily. Now, they're expensive,
Hmm.
and that's why the finished chocolates are expensive. But there's just, and I can't tell you what's different about Valrhona. It's, I don't know, there's a depth, there's a the way that it feels on your palate when you snap it and you smell it and you bite into it, and it melts over your palate. There's layers of flavor that have just been developed by a company who seeks out the best cacao, the best raw materials, and then they treat it in a way that brings out its best qualities.
Mm.
And they do that very consistently.
Yeah.
And
I might even say, because it's a question I had with that chocolate. It's almost analogous to like a coffee roasting house. They can't say exactly what makes this batch of beans better, but they know that it was sourced ethically, that they tried to bring out the best flavors. And you can't maybe point to one specific thing about it, but it's treated with care throughout the process. And so you end with a superior product.
it is coffee, absolutely, but also something that you're absolutely familiar with is wine and grapes. And
Yeah.
if you look at, if you compare Valrhona to any of the first growth houses in Bordeaux,
That's
you
good.
know, you've
Yeah.
got you've got people that are, they're getting the best grapes from the best terroir, and they're handling them in a way that produces predictable results. And it's a generational industry, and you get people that just these big brands produce high quality product.
And you got to assume even the worst from the best will generally be better than sometimes the best from the worst. So yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
cool. That's a much better
And
analogy. I like that.
yeah, so it's, and that, so then I've watched a lot of videos. I've read a couple books. I actually did take a class, but it was like a 4 or 5 day class from a very well-respected chocolatier who's actually here in Las Vegas. who used to be a pastry chef for Joel Robuchon. Um, and I learned a lot of things. I learned some basic and the stuff that she taught. She learned from another chocolatier who is a very world-renowned chocolatier from Spain. Um, so it's everybody learned from somebody, and a lot of this stuff there's just some kind of basic stuff, some basic science. There's a lot of science to chocolate making. It's very unforgiving material. And there are some very simple rules, but you must follow the rules. And once you do, it's really not that difficult, and you can do a lot of different stuff with textures and flavors. So I'm always trying other people's stuff. I'm looking for interesting flavors. I'm looking for stuff that, what are they doing in Paris that we're not doing yet? What are they doing in Barcelona that we're not doing yet? South America and Spain actually are huge movers and shakers in food right now, and certainly desserts and chocolate. So just a lot of interesting stuff, and it's not all going to work for the American palate,
Your chimichurri
especially here in
chocolates.
Middle America.
Yeah.
But so we have to kind of do the basic stuff that you know people understand chocolate truffle, they understand a raspberry truffle. Um, but we've won the trust of some people with the stuff that we do, and we've been able to sneak in some cooler stuff that's actually become more popular than I
Yeah,
expected. But
yeah. No, I haven't been
uh,
down there in almost 2 years, but I'm thinking back through some of the favors I really enjoyed from you guys. I enjoyed the one with the sparkles in it, little pop rocks almost effect. I
yeah,
remember there was a
yeah,
black sesame that I thought was really
yeah.
fantastic. There was a paprika maybe or chili. There was one that had sort of a spice element, if I
We did a
remember.
we did a cayenne, yeah.
Cayenne, yes, thank you. Yeah, no, not exactly the lineup you'd regularly expect to hear in a chocolate shop, but yeah, but no, that's really cool. Is there a crazy
Well,
flavor?
chilies,
Sorry, you go first.
huh?
Yeah.
No, well, chili is and spice is kind of the origin of chocolate.
Hmm.
Cacao was grown um, 3,000 years ago in Central and South America, and it was used as a ceremonial drink. It was pounded and boiled in water with spices and chilies by the Aztecs and the Mayans. Um, and it's really only been in the last couple hundred years that Europeans added sugar to it and turned it into what it is today.
Now, funny
So,
enough, being from New Mexico, and I don't, disclaimer, I don't know if this shop survived COVID. I left before that, but Cacao Chocolate House in Santa Fe serves the original drink style recipes still. So it's all chocolate
really?
drinks like they used to, yeah. Several of
Okay.
them spiced, which I hadn't thought about for
Yeah,
forever,
yeah.
but yeah, definitely
I
worth
need to
trying.
make it over there because I've heard about. I'm sure they're probably still going strong because so many people have told me about them, and I'm not
Specifically
sure
that
they're the
place.
only one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple in Santa Fe that are just people just whatever they did, they made this incredible impression on people,
Mm,
and just so many people have told me about this wonderful chocolate shop in Santa Fe.
yeah.
So
I guess
I need to go.
same way when I hear people going to Tulsa now, I say, go check out Cricket and Fig. Go say hi. Yeah. So I did want to ask because you were sort of touching on this earlier, getting inspiration elsewhere. One of the reasons you crossed my radar and I realized I should reach out to you. Tell me about Dubai. What happened there? There's a big
Oh,
blow up, yeah, but not in a bad way,
wow.
maybe. But yeah. So,
Well, so there's a company in Dubai called Fix Dessert Chocolatier, FIX. And uh, it was built by and is owned by um, a young couple. I think the wife is kind of really the one that runs the company, and just beautiful woman, good looking young couple, very charismatic. I mean, they've got the marketing, they've got everything it takes to attract people to what they're doing. So about 3 years ago, end of 2021, maybe, and I guess when we think about it, this is right in the middle of COVID, or maybe just coming out of COVID, 2022. They started this company, and they were doing these really big, thick bars that were filled with all kind of just gooey stuff. And I think kind of the story was she came up with all these ideas from her pregnancy cravings. And hey, here's what I'd like in a candy bar today. And so she came up with these bars that were like different kind of weird combinations, but very uh, decadent, really thick fillings. And one of them was pistachio, which is a very big part of Middle East cuisine throughout that region. Um, Pistachio, also sesame tahini, and then this katafi dough, which is like shredded phyllo dough. It looks like shredded wheat.
Hmm.
And they make a dessert called kanafe in a lot of the different Middle Eastern cultures. And she gives these kind of fun names to all of her bars. And so she did this one, the pistachio tahini and katafi or kanafe. She called it "Can't Get Kanafe of It,"
No.
and just cute names. 3 years ago, and I guess everything just kind of moved along its pace for 2 years. All of a sudden, 1 year ago, a little longer than that now, uh, a TikTok influencer over in Dubai or who was visiting Dubai or something was able to get one of them, and she broke it open really slow, and this gooey, delicious, decadent filling and all the texture that you see from the kanafe, and she's eating it, and it just went completely bonkers. Took the world by storm. And I'm not a TikToker. I don't know anything
Well,
about this stuff.
that's why I was asking
But
you. I don't use TikTok because I want to preserve my brain.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, I support you. It's well, and I still don't use TikTok. But I tell you what did happen
Hmm.
is about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year, sometime in August, maybe last year, we got a phone call one day and asked, are you doing the viral Dubai chocolate?" No, I don't know what that is, but I can tell you if it's a viral internet thing, we probably won't be doing it. And by the end of that day, I'd gotten like a dozen calls about it. And I went and found the video, and I said, okay. So what's happened is um, the people in Dubai fix they the entire planet has erupted over this chocolate bar. They can't produce enough of them. Even the company in Dubai, they're a small company. They're a little mom and pop company. And they make these great products, and they've got great packaging and great marketing, but they don't have a store. They tell you today, you can go on their Instagram page right now. They don't have a store, they don't have a website, and they don't have any authorized resellers. And they can barely keep up with production. They make their bars available twice a day, every day, and you can only get them in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi. And you can only officially get them through this very specific method of ordering through a courier over there somehow. And you can get them at like 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock every day. and then they start over every every day. And so nobody can get them, but everybody on the planet wants them. So now this has created this enormous market for every chocolatier and everybody that can figure out how to make them. And they pretty much tell you what's in it. There's no secrets.
Hmm.
You can find. I researched and I found a picture of their bar with their ingredients list. And those of us that know how to work with chocolate and how to make stuff, it's pretty easy to figure out how they're doing it. Now, does mine taste exactly like theirs? Probably not, but it's really close. I've had a bunch of them. I sent a guy, I had a friend that was going to Dubai, and I asked him to get me one. And he brought me back three different bars, and one of them looked like the real one, but I don't think it was.
Oh
He
man, people
didn't
are
get
already
it,
imitating
and
them. That's
oh,
wild.
absolutely. They're counterfeited constantly. They've told me that, and so yeah, they're very difficult. Um, but so we started making them. Then we got just before Valentine's Day this year. We had a TikToker who has got a huge following here in Tulsa and in Oklahoma in general that came and had one of ours, and that went nuts. And dude, I okay, so I got enough molds to make like 80 of these things. That video was seen. I could never find this number, but two different people told me that that her video had been seen 380,000 times.
Hmm.
So I got 380,000 people that want something that I can make 80 of,
Hmm.
and it takes me 2 days. And I've just been just
Yeah.
started chasing my tail.
Yeah. Is it
Um,
still going on?
I was well, it's not going on like that. So
Yeah.
what happened is we sold out in just an hour,
Yeah.
and we made more. Okay, so we'll have some at 2 o'clock on Thursday, and you can buy two, and no pre-orders and no holds. You can't call in advance. You've got to be here. Must be present to win. By 1:15 Thursday, I had 60 people in line for them. They were, I mean, you've been in my place. They were lined
That's
up
not most of the space. Yeah.
all the way to the candy counter, all the way back to the wall, and then all the way back to the door and out the door. And I got regular customers here wondering what the heck is going on. And man, it was crazy. And so we did the little snacking bars, and we did the big hearts. I think you've probably seen the big heart that we've always done.
Oh
That
yeah.
were hazelnut. I actually did finally, just last week, I finally broke down and I bought the molds to do the really thick bar. I've resisted investing in another mold for this thing because I didn't really think it would last. But it's been going on for a year. Now, I don't get people lined up for them. But I'm out of them right now, and I had at least two people come in last week wanting to know when we'll have more. And I told them I'd have some by the end of this week, so I've got to go make them. It's just insane. So let me tell you what's had. So this demand worldwide, I had heard, and I saw a couple. I mean, I haven't had a hard time getting any of the ingredients, but I have read articles that said that this trend has caused a worldwide pistachio shortage.
Mm. Just that
Um,
increased demand.
so that's
Yeah.
kind of nuts. I, yeah, yeah. So it's been interesting, man. It has been called by several people the most viral product on planet Earth, the most desired product on planet Earth. So I don't remember. You know how we always talk about how, what was the big thing before sliced bread? Because everybody always says the
Yeah.
coolest thing since sliced bread. This
This is it. This is the Beatles, but as a chocolate.
whatever the world
Yes.
was like before sliced bread, now we've got the Dubai chocolate
Yeah.
bar.
Well, I'm sure
Crazy.
that's been great for you guys. I'm guessing, because I always thought your chocolates were, some of the best I've tried. I was actually introduced thanks to someone giving me the heart chocolate. So that's when I got to try that. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah, classic form. I didn't eat it. I gave it to my wife, and she said we have to go there. And I said, okay. But I heard that that helped.
Well,
You've got some support. We were saying earlier before we jumped on and started talking. Um, yeah. Any plans to expand or take over
well,
some more spaces or?
not yet. I mean, right now we're kind of in the summer slump where I mean, we're, it has been a really good year so far, Andrew. It's February. I mean, Valentine's Day is not the time that I really need help with
Mm,
marketing, but I got it. And, buddy, I got to tell you, it was a rough February and on into March. It was really hard. Um, it was really hard. We worked a lot of hours. I had a very diminished staff, and I started hiring new people and just going through hiring the wrong people and getting people trained and people not working out. It's
it's a
just
lot.
been,
Yeah.
man, sign of the times. It's just been insane. It's been rough, but it's been a good year, you know. Um, and I tell you what, there's that. Uh, I just keep thinking about that speech that John Kennedy gave when he was talking about going to the moon. We don't do this stuff because it's easy. We do it because it's hard. You know,
Yeah. Who knew that'd be
we
true of
do
a
it
chocolate
because
shop?
it's
Yeah.
hard. Anyway, it has been hard, and but it's been good, man. It's been good, and it's. I mean, we so the version of the Dubai chocolate that I make is exactly it's elevated from what the original is because we are using that French Valrhona chocolate. We're using the original is made with pistachio cream, which you can buy on Amazon. You can buy it a lot of places, but it's kind of like peanut butter but made with pistachios. But it's got other oils and a lot of sugars in it, and the version that I make is we use pure Sicilian pistachio paste. It's just nothing but 100% pistachios.
Step up. Yeah.
I get pure tahini that I get from a Middle Eastern market here that's imported from Lebanon. And I get, and for the sugar, we don't add any extra oils. We use white chocolate. So it's cocoa butter and just the sugar from that great white chocolate. Um, and then the katafi is, we toast in butter and it's just really good. I mean, it's we're back to where the conversation started. Is just the best ingredients. You put the best in, you get the best back out. And everybody that's had all the different versions that everybody's tried to make in town, everybody has liked ours best, and I'm grateful for that. But I mean, it's really nothing I've done. I've just assembled. I've always felt my whole career that I mean, I do have good basic skills. Um, I don't necessarily consider myself a great chef. I don't consider myself a chocolatier at all.
Mm.
Chocolates was just kind of a hobby for me. What I am really good at is I think I've been good at discerning good recipes. I think I'm good at um, producing consistent results. And I think I'm good at sourcing high quality products. And I think if you do all of those things, um, you just you can't lose. You
You win by
can't.
default. Yeah.
Yeah, you win by default. And it got nothing to do with talent. It's just I just know what the good stuff is.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
and if
awesome.
you're willing to pay for it, you can have it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not cheap. Valrhona is the best chocolate, I think, but it's also about the most expensive chocolate. And back last fall, chocolate went up globally 50%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just crazy stuff's happening in our world today, and I don't know where it's all going to end, but
That's
we're
imported,
keeping up
isn't
so
it?
far. It is.
Have you? Yeah.
Well, all chocolate's important. So chocolate, cacao grows all the way around the planet through the equatorial region of the planet.
Mm,
But 65-70% of the world's commercial cacao comes from the west coast of Africa. Ghana, the Ivory Coast, um, and through climate change and just three consistent 3 consecutive years of drought, aging trees that are producing less, uh, just a
going
lot
up.
of different stuff
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure if the
have.
possibility of tariffs was coming your way too. So that was, yeah. Uh,
Uh, I think tariffs, as I understand them, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about tariffs, and I don't. The only thing I've been able to glean so far, I think a lot of the tariff stuff is gonna relate to finished goods, manufactured goods, as opposed to ingredients.
yeah.
Uh,
And see, that's why I'm running terrified because I'm wondering if that includes spirits and wines too.
mm,
Because, yeah, we'll
yeah,
see.
maybe. I don't know. I think that. Well, I feel like, and without getting too deep into politics, I mean, I don't fully understand economy. I don't fully understand tariffs, but I do think the intention of the tariffs is to create more jobs and more manufacturing back here in America, and I'm all for that.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think that because of that, the intention of the tariffs is not going to apply to things that can't really be made here.
Yeah. And
Perhaps,
if that's true,
maybe.
yeah,
Um,
the tequila from Mexico is the one that I'm like, oh, I mean, that's one of the big things we sell. We'll
yeah,
see. We can't make that here and legally. Yeah,
sure.
you have to make it
And
down
we
there.
can't grow
Yeah.
cocoa beans here. We can't grow
Yeah.
coffee here.
Yeah. So there's these,
So
yeah, maybe we're not the ones to
we
be
couldn't make
talking.
more T-shirts here.
Yes, exactly. We're
We
not the
can't build
ones that
cars here.
the tariffs aren't aimed at us, our industries, maybe. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't
Yeah.
think they are. And so far, I think we're good. I mean, I get my boxes for our chocolates from China. I am in direct communication with the company that makes them. I help design them. I send them a design. They tweak it to work with what they can do, and they make a very luxurious box that doesn't cost me that much. The thing is, there's nobody in the United States that's making them. They don't have any competition here. I've tried to find box makers that can make them here, and they've all told me we can't we can't make that box here. We can't afford it. We can't afford the labor. Um, and that's the sad truth of it. It ain't me that's choosing to not buy an American product. There's not one to buy. So, just like the iPhone, they can't make them here. We can't afford it. We can't afford the labor to make them. You and I would not be able to afford the finished product if they were built here. But I've talked to the box people in China, and they've said that the tariffs don't apply to their products.
Mm.
So, I think there's a finite list of products that are being tariffed, and I think it's still very misunderstood, and I think it hasn't all been quite figured out yet, too.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I'm
I
just not worried
trust
about
me,
it. There's nothing I can do about it.
I was not speaking with any certainty at all. It's speculative as far as I understand right now. And
Yeah, no,
yeah, yeah.
but it is crazy. It's
Before I forget, I did want to ask because you kind of mentioned there are certain rules that you have to follow when you make chocolate, but I was wondering, what are some of those? I know most people are like me, have never tried this before, so
sure.
yeah.
Well, so chocolate is so you've got a cocoa bean. You've got this pod that's filled with these little beans that are basically the seeds of the cacao tree, and they are covered with this very sweet, very rich, decadent, citrusy flavored, fruity flesh. And a lot of that kind of gets destroyed in the process of breaking up this cluster of little beans that are about that big. About, a little bit bigger than a nickel, not as big as a quarter. Um, and so all of that sugar, they take the bean is fermented. All that sugar and all that fruit is fermented for just a couple of days. Very, very instrumental in the flavor of chocolate. And then that bean is spread out on tarps, usually in the sun, and dried. And after a couple of days, they're then roasted, and then they've got a kind of a chaff on them that is peeled off in a process called winnowing. And then we have what most people these days recognize as a cocoa nib, which are just the little pieces of the inner portion of that seed or that bean that just tastes like unflavored chocolate. And it's got kind of a fatty richness to it. And it's
It's
not
not very
sweet,
sweet, right? Oh, okay, yeah,
not sweet at all.
yeah.
But it's the essence of chocolate. That is then ground into over a long period of time through a series of rollers and grinding to particles get smaller and smaller and smaller, and so that your palate can no longer detect an individual little grain, and that is called chocolate mass or chocolate liquor, and that's basically unsweetened chocolate. And it is comprised of cocoa butter, fat, and cocoa solids, which is cocoa powder. And commercially, you can add sugar to that, and you can make dark chocolate, and it's that simple. Um, but commercially, what's done is that the fat and the solids are separated. So it's just kind of like making olive oil. You take the olives and you press them, and you separate the water from and the solids from the oil. Kind of the same thing. We're separating the solid from the fat. Then they're put back together in exact ratios to achieve different results with sugar and milk in the case of milk chocolate. So chocolate is a very fragile emulsification of fat, solids, sugar, and milk where necessary. If you take out those solids, then you've just got the fat, the sugar, and the milk. That's white chocolate. So white chocolate is chocolate. It does come from the cocoa bean. Um, those little white melting discs, those are not chocolate. They have no cocoa butter in
Okay.
them. But so we've got this emulsification. Now that emulsification has to be if you just take that stuff right out of the machine that it's been pressing it and making this very smooth paste, and you just let that cool, you're going to have this grainy product that's going to have all the flavor that you're used to from chocolate, but it's not going to have the texture. It's not going to set up and be firm and have a nice crisp snap when you break it. Um, it has to be tempered, and that's where the science comes in. So you've extracted the raw material, you've gotten it ground down to this very smooth, decadent, silky paste, and higher quality chocolate companies grind it finer than lower quality chocolate companies do.
Okay.
Um,
Which
they
would be
might add
smoother.
less
Yeah.
sugar. Yeah, to make it smoother, they might add less sugar. Um, they might add more solids. The solids are a lot cheaper than the cocoa butter. The cocoa butter is the most expensive part of the whole process. So if you can take less of that and throw in more sugar and more solids, you can get a cheaper product. And that's what you get when you get something like Hershey's or some other really cheaper, cheaper sugars, cheaper milk products.
Yeah.
Um,
Sugar hides a lot of flaws, too.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. And it stretches things and just make it sweeter. And we all know that as Americans, we're known for having a very sweet palate,
Hmm.
compared to to most of the rest of the world. Um, but so chocolate has to be tempered, and we do that by melting it all. We're looking for a certain type of crystal as it melts, and then as it comes back together and re-solidifies, we're developing certain types of fat crystals that are called beta 4 and 5 crystals. And so the chocolate is melted to a certain temperature that melts all of the crystals, and then it is very carefully cooled to a certain temperature that allows the crystals we want to develop and not so much the other crystals. And so that's kind of the science, and it's very specific temperatures, a very specific type of agitation, because as those crystals start to grow, we want to disperse them throughout the pool of chocolate we have, but we don't want too many of them that we end up with problems. So
Okay.
there's a lot of tiny little nuances. Most of them you can't tell just by looking at it.
That's why you've been talking
You
about
get
the
it.
flavor and the breaking and okay.
Yep, yep. But a pot full of, or a bowl or a pool or whatever full of melted chocolate looks like melted chocolate. But there could be so many different things going on in there. So we've got temperature and experience and experimentation is kind of creates the product that we're looking for.
Cool. Yeah, that's
There's just
awesome.
a
I'm
lot
glad
to
I
it.
asked. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and once you learn it, but so I've been doing this stuff pretty, you know, uh, but I've done nothing but chocolate for the last 6 years, and for a good mm, 5 to 8 years before that. So we're coming up on about 12 to 15 years that I've been playing with this stuff a lot. Just last week, I ran into something that I had not run into before and ruined a half a day's work and had to start over because something wasn't quite right. And it was the temperature of the room was a little too warm. Um, and it's this time of year, heat and humidity have an effect on that stuff.
Of course it does. Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Do you
and
eat
there's
your
stuff
mistakes or give them to friends and family?
I do. I do. And in this case, I was able to melt them back down and start again. Because that's
Oh,
one
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
If you don't get it filled, you can remelt chocolate. Chocolate doesn't really go bad, and it can be, as long as you don't get it too hot and scorch it, um, or get any water in it, you can just melt it and reuse it. So that's pretty nice. And just what you've lost is all the time that you put into the initial, whatever. But
Definitely a non-renewable resource, but sometimes better that than money and chocolate, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Well, Randy, where would you like people listening to find out more about you? How can they try your amazing chocolates, and how can they find out when the Dubai chocolate's ready and all of that?
Well, they can. So we've got a website, cricketandfig.com. Cricket and Fig are my little dogs.
Yep, cute dogs,
Everybody
love
should
them.
know that. Um, and they just got all their shots last week. They're very healthy little pups. Cricket's 9, Fig's 8.
Man,
And they are my children, and they are the great pure joy in my life. Anyway, cricketandfig.com is our
yes,
website. Our store, if you're in Tulsa, we are at 58th and Lewis, 5800 South Lewis Avenue in Tulsa, in the London Square Shopping Center. We're here Tuesday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We do breakfast and lunch until 2 o'clock. And after that, it's chocolate and great coffee. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Cricket and Fig on both of those.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I'll have all those listed at the link notes for those of you who are driving and can't type that in quickly, just a click away. Awesome. Yeah, it was awesome to see you. I've got to
And
get
we
back.
ship nationwide. I'm shipping some stuff today. Even in the dead of summer, we're
You're
shipping
shipping.
stuff. And
I'm actually going to be there at the end of the month, so I'll probably stop by with Anne when we're down there because we got to get some more chocolates. Yeah, so it'll be
we do get to see your parents-in-law from
yes.
time to time. They've been in a couple times lately, and it's
Good,
always a
good.
joy seeing them.
That means that they're getting out of the house, which is always good.
They are. They're getting out of the house some. It's good.
Yeah,
It's always good
that's
to
why
see
we're
them.
coming down there. So cool.
Awesome.
Well, Randy, thank you for taking a couple minutes today, and it was a real pleasure.
Thank you again for listening. That's the end of our show today. My name's Andrew, and this is Serves You Right. If you haven't, please subscribe to the show. Everyone who subscribes helps the show grow and get cooler guests on, and it sure does mean a lot to me. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll see you then. Thanks.